It's my great pleasure to present today's speaker. Um, at this stage in all of our careers, and without exception, in every interview situation and every interview room, there are two elephants. One, unavoidably, is the fact that we are no longer kids. We have aged well beyond that, and that is one of the elephants in the room. And the other is, what will they pay me? Um, and how shall I approach that? What concerns do I have? Do they appreciate the value that I bring? Do they Are they simply testing the marketplace to see what's out there, and compare that to bringing someone up from within? So these are all thoughts that go through your mind. You don't know the thoughts that are going through the other side, and so today we're going to get a look at or hear from a 30 plus year expert in this field of executive search and recruitment, who is in touch with the pulse of the other side and hears what they're thinking, what they're planning. And so uh, I'm pleased to bring you Janelle Rosino. Janelle, as I said, is a 30-year career coach, executive recruiter, and brings a great deal of wisdom to the table. Um, she has appeared on the or featured. She's been featured in the New York Times and on CBS World News, and she also shares her expertise through comprehensive 3-week and 6-week coaching courses. I'm delighted. I probably haven't done justice to you, Janelle, in terms of the introduction, but let me turn the mic over to you and just dazzle us with your presentation.
Very good morning.
Good morning.
That was a beautiful introduction, and I'm very humbled to be here. I'll tell you why. Everyone that showed up here this morning is a celebrity, and I really believe that. You're all very special. And I get very humbled by people showing up to a presentation that I give. Not sure exactly what it is that I have to say that you want, but hopefully you'll glean a little bit from this morning's meeting. Joyce is amazing. Jerry's fantastic. Matt, a pleasure to meet you. And whoever wrote about Paris, I'm willing to go to Paris. So thank you very, very much. I know there's a few people from the New Jersey, New York contingent. So thank you for coming this morning. Gary popped that out last night. He's our co-leader at the Hillsdale Career Network Group, where we meet once a month on the second Wednesday of every month in the evening. And if you're interested, I certainly can get any information to you that you'd like. So it's a very interesting time we're in. I think everybody and anybody talks about everything out on social media, news cycles, comments that are made in different kinds of sections, platforms like LinkedIn and Facebook and all that other good stuff, and everything is open. There is nothing we don't see on social media except one thing, and that is anything to do with salary. Nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about it unless you're in the confines of an interview and you whisper, and we talk about how much you're making and what you're not making and what do you want to make, and what the company is offering and what's the salary. It seems that those kinds of things are reserved for behind the curtain. And today I want to get a couple of things out to you, not because I say them, but because the marketplace says them. Whether it's a hiring manager whether it's an HR individual, the chief executive officer of the company. I want to give you a couple of ideas, thoughts, comments on how the salary situation progresses. So everything you always wanted to know about salary, but we're afraid to ask. And before we start with the questions, I just want to make a couple of points. We worry about you pricing yourself out of the market, too high or too low. It's always about, well, if I say this number, am I going to price myself out? If I come in too low, I don't want to leave anything on the table. And I know that you're faced with a lot of that today, especially when you're doing things on your own. But I want you to pick a number. While we're going through this today, I want you to know that picking one number, what makes the difference? What do you want? It's, we always talk about what you need. We talk about what you need to work in the environment, with your family. What do I need to survive? What do I need, that'll pay the bills? That's not what I want. I want you to pick a number that you want, because what you want is what you'll get. We've heard you've heard the old saying, if you don't ask, you don't get. Well, human resources and hiring managers are very interested in knowing what you want. And when you're decisive and you pick a number, it's because you're decisive about what you need, what you want. And is that the way you're going to make decisions within the group? Or are you going to be wishy-washy and say, well, I'm looking somewhere between that 2 and 250 range? Well, that's a big number. That's a big range. Is that the way you're going to make decisions in my group? Well, we'll go with this. Well, I'm not sure. Well, we could go with that. And that's the perception when you give a range in an interview. And that's not I don't think that's what anybody wants that perception to be. One number. So I want you to think about that as we go through the morning, because who's ever going on a next interview, I want you to do it. With my candidates that I work with, typically, if you ask for the one number, 9 out of 10 times they'll get that number or more. And, there's a lot of factors that roll into that one number as well. Your level, where are you within the food chain, and so on and so forth. And how do you get there? We're all very smart people. You are all very talented, a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience. You know where to do the research. Everybody should know what their market value is in the marketplace in terms of what you do. I mean, I work in the finance space. That's one of our core disciplines here, finance and accounting. And when I look for a head of SEC at 275 to 300, that's what the number is. So I'm always looking at that 300 person. If I'm looking at a tax director at 275 to 3, that's a tax director, and that's what the marketplace is calling for. And a lot of people today, Janelle, I can settle for 2. I'm not settling, and I'm not asking you to settle. But I want you to be comfortable in what you decide before everything else. Okay, so that's my view on a couple of points. And some of the questions, which I'm sure you have either asked or heard, start with, what should I do if an interviewer asks me about my salary requirements? I'm sure that everybody's been faced with that. So what are your salary, Michael, what's your salary requirement? Or can you give me an idea of what your salary requirements are? How do you answer the question? Well, the first thing you need to do, first of all, they shouldn't ask you that. They should say, so let me tell you a little bit about the job. 1, we have a little, there's some travel. Is that okay? 2, right now it's a hybrid, but I want you to come back in September. Does that work for you? And 3, the salary range on this role is A to X. Is that comfortable for you? That's the way the interview should start, but it never does. Your question back to them should be, I would be happy to talk about my salary requirements. May I ask what the position is budgeted for? You have every right and every right to ask that individual. If you're going to ask me about salary requirements, then you need to tell me what the job is. Every position that is on a budget, the reason why you're there interviewing is because that role is open. It's on the budget. It has a number. And am I correct in thinking that everybody on this screen today is in finance and have had budgets and staffing? And when you have to go and sit in those meetings and say, okay, I need 10 people and here's why. And you were on a line item, every person was on a line item and it had a number attached to it. Am I correct? So my feeling is that every job that you go to, every interview that you go to, I'm certain that it's got a number attached to it. So that's a recommendation. I would be happy to tell you my salary requirements. May I ask what the salary range is? And you have every right to listen if they'll give you an answer and say, I'm right within the range. As a matter of fact, I'm at the top of the range, but that works. We can move on to something. We can move on to something else if you'd like. Don't be afraid to ask those questions. Just as a little sidebar, I know that when you get to the point where you're interviewing and it's getting closer and you're getting anxious and you know that it's time, I've got to get this one nailed down, come hook or by crook. What starts to happen is we start to lose the confidence in ourselves. We do. Because we want that role, whatever the salary is, I'm taking it. But I need you to stand firm with a number that makes good sense for you, that you want. I want you to go to work happy every day. I want you to have what you need and want in a role, in a title, in an elevation, and in a salary. So try to stay as confident as possible. Unfortunately, sometimes that doesn't happen. We kind of have a tendency to slide down a little. We say, well, my value. Jerry brought up a very good point before about age. First of all, I'm very young. I'll be young when I'm 200. I'll be old when I'm 200. I guess the point being, I always feel age is a strength. And I fight that tooth and nail with clients ad nauseum, because your experience, your background, your knowledge in the industry is, you will never find this again. You've probably forgot a lot of what people will never learn. And I think that is a huge strength, especially being a little more traditional like us. Okay, should I include my salary requirements in my cover letter? That is a huge question I get a lot. And I don't want you to put a number in a cover letter at all. I just want you to shut it down. That cover letter should only talk about you. That cover letter talks about you as an individual and why you're such a great candidate that they should meet. That's how that cover letter should go. You can talk about compensation after you've wowed them, which I'm sure you will after either a Zoom or a phone call, or now shortly coming in an in-person interview, because I think the whole world is opening up now. And I've actually had a couple of people go out to one-on-one interviews, which is working out just very well. So I don't think anybody puts their number in a cover letter, but that is definitely a question that still continues to come up. What if they ask me what my current salary is? Has anybody gotten that? Anybody that we know that? So can you please tell me what your current salary is? Because if they have, in a lot of states, you know, it's illegal to ask that question. I don't know if that, Jerry, in Chicago, are they not allowed to ask that question?
I believe that's the case.
It is. So if anybody asks you what your current salary is, tell them it's none of their bleeping business. But, which you can't say, but that is illegal. And I would say, I'd be happy to talk about my salary. How about yours? You could say it any way you want. My attitude is they don't have the right to ask you that question. I saw somebody had an answer on LinkedIn the other day for that question. And that answer from this gal was, my salary requirements are as high as you will go. I thought that was a very interesting comment. So in many states today, you know, that salary question is not, should not come out. You know, refer to it as, let's move on. I can tell you what my salary requirements on if you want to be really nice about the whole thing. But please tell me what the position is budgeted for. May I ask what the position is budgeted for? And there's probably a couple of people out there that have asked the question and came back with, well, we don't know. Well, I'm not allowed to tell you. Are you flipping kidding me? Someone should be able to tell you what that range is. As I said earlier, there is no reason, none, why you should not know what that salary range is. It's already budgeted. But HR likes to play games and they want you to give them the number. Well, if you don't know, that's fine. We can move on to another topic. But when you find out what it is, I would love to have that conversation. You could be amiable about it. I know it's frustrating, but HR, you know, sometimes pushes on you and you need to push back a little bit. It's okay. You know, we need to get a little chutzpah. We need to get a little more assertive. We need to get a little bit more confident about what you want to accomplish in that interview. And if it's about salary, then go for it. Don't worry, they won't throw you out. How do I know how much to ask for? You know, what if they ask me, you know, how much, you know, should I go in terms of an elevation? You know, years ago, as a recruiter, I'm always asking candidates today, especially, back then I would say, so what are you making and what would you like to look at for a new position? The job I'm working on is 170. And they would say to me, well, Janelle, right now I'm at 150. 170 is a nice bump and I get a bonus. Today, it's different. I can't ask that question. So I ask you as a candidate, would you like to talk to me about, you know, a ballpark salary? Would you like to talk to me about what you're thinking in terms of a number? I would never embarrass my candidates ever. And I certainly don't want to embarrass anyone that I'm speaking with because I always want to present you in the best light. So salary information, even a ballpark, is very important to me. I will always tell you the salary range on the role. I'm not a recruiter that holds that back because I think you need to say to me, Janelle, I'm in that pile or I'm not. I'm in the 400 range. Okay. So that role is not for you. But a good rule of thumb is 20%, more than you're currently earning or in your last role. A lot of people have said to me, Janelle, well, in my last role, I took a really big hit. So go with a number that you want. Go with a number that you want. Not a number you need, but a number you want. But I always say 20%. Jerry, are there any questions yet?
Uh, Not a question, but I think Mark raises a good point, which is you talk about having a number in mind, and there's a difference between, for example, a benefit package at a privately held company versus a uh, a market level, say a publicly held company, and that so you can't just have one number in that sense. How do you make the adjustment? How do you
All right.
because you
All
really
right. So,
don't know anything about the package while you're sitting in that room. So you think on your feet and say, well, let's see, and I don't think you're going to come away satisfied.
all right. So I'm all right. So let me see if I have this right. So you're looking at a small company, not public, versus a public company, large organization, and you may not ever find out that number. Did I hear that right?
Correct.
So they're looking at a whole package.
In other words, there's one of the components of the compensation
Base.
is the benefits package,
Oh,
and
okay.
typically the benefits package would be smaller at a privately held company versus a public company. So how do you factor that?
All right.
In other words, he's raising the point that this one number thing presents a problem from that standpoint.
Okay. Well, first of all, you know exactly what you need, in terms of a salary. I can't believe that you're going to walk into a role, an interview, not knowing some sort of a number that you want for a base. And how you've done those mathematics, however you do it, is fine. Now, when you look at the benefits package, you might learn that the benefits package is a lot more than you anticipated, and that you would have to contribute more than you thought you would. Now, at what point do you say, I will look at the benefits if that's what's most important to me? I'll take whatever salary they give me, but I need the company to pay for benefits even more so. Excuse me. And that's fine. In most cases, a smaller company, uh, in some cases, you have the company paying for more of the benefits. In some cases, you have them paying for less. And you really have to look at the number plus the whole package that you're getting. If there's a bonus, if there's LTI, whatever they give you, and you've got to compare that package and make sure that it's feasible for you. And the base, that's why the base is so important. And that's with any role, Jerry. That's with any company, large or small.
Another question from Joe is, how do you get around the online application salary question? The ATS requires a number. Uh, Joe tries to, I don't know what the numeric equivalent of flexible is, but that's what he tries to put in, and
Right.
it doesn't accept it.
No.
Okay,
You know,
so
First of all the applications should have been changed by now in terms of that question. They should have all been taken out by now, but they don't care. So what you were earning in your previous position or in your current role. And if you want the same number, or if you pick a number that you want, be mindful that if the role is elevated, if the role as you know it is above what you're currently doing, then know that that salary is going to be elevated as well. And you've got to make sure that when you put that number in that applicant tracking system, that you're using a number that you want. And if it's the same salary that you're getting now, fine. If you are, don't be so worried about being knocked out. I said to Jerry earlier, again, not because I'm saying this, human resources will tell me flat out, we don't get to the really talented people in the ATS systems. We don't see all the paper. We don't see the resumes. We're too busy. We get, a few, we present them to the hiring manager, and we may not get to Matt's or Nancy's or Tim or Hal's or Joe's, because even though they're perfect for the job, we never see them. So how real is an ATS system? Why do we take this resume and pop it over to a dark hole that says you may never be seen? We worry about the application, worried that we're going to bump ourselves out of the running because of a number, and it may never be seen, which is why Jerry and Joyce and Matt and all the others stress networking. Get in touch with someone in the company. I may be a little assertive, when it comes to reaching out to some people, but it's worth it. By connecting with people within the company after you've applied, whether it's the CEO or the COO or, a managing director or the founder of the firm, in the startups, send over a note to them because it's important. Send over a note that says, I've just applied to your opening. I think the company is great. I'd love 15 minutes of your time. Please let me know if we can get together in a couple of days. I will, connect with you once again to find out your answer. That does so much to an individual that knows you want to join their firm. You get hired because people like you. You get hired because you have the right skill set. You get hired because you have a lot of knowledge. You get hired because you have a good personality, your leadership. You've done things that most people will never know. And all of those soft pieces that belong to each and every one of you, use them to engage an individual, not a machine. Machines are good for one thing. But I don't think they're the right tool for you to get a job. Although I will say, in some instances, you've got LinkedIn. It does work with some connections. I've heard people getting jobs off Indeed. Okay, fine. But use most of your time to connect with people like Mike and Nancy and Joe and Rick and Craig and all the people that are part of your group. Those are the people that are going to help. Are any of you familiar with the London Stock Exchange group and Refinitiv? It's a joint down here in New York. The London Stock Exchange merged with Refinitiv. Yesterday, I got a call from someone who, tried to apply to a position there. They're in a bit of a mess because of the merger. And, there's like a gazillion openings. And I said, don't apply. I'll introduce you to somebody who I made a friend with and see if you could connect that way first. So with an endorsement from me, and just to say, I'd love to have you take a look at this person. There's a couple of positions there they may be perfect for. That will lead this candidate to most likely an interview. And let them tell this person what to apply for. It takes a little longer, but it's so much better. Anything else, Jer?
Well, just on that point, clearly there are companies that will absolutely insist that the candidate apply using the ATS. But the point about getting a warm introduction through network is that you want to get to the eventually get to the hiring manager's ears so that he has an opportunity to tell personnel or tell HR that you're going to get this ATS from Mr. X. I want to see that before it goes any further, and it
Sure.
comes from the networking that you've done. Now,
Right.
just an additional point. Jonathan raised a question that he's had a couple of calls lately where the salary is discussed, but HR is not clear on bonus or equity piece. Any suggestions on how to deal with that? Given lack of facts, he tries to defer. What are your thoughts? What are
Well,
your thoughts?
well, keep asking. If you're working with a recruiter, they should know. If you're not working with a recruiter, keep after the HR individual or your point of contact. And then when you get to the last interview, most likely it's going to be the CEO or the COO or the top of the food chain, and ask them, is there a bonus? And if so, what's the bonus number, or what's the history of the bonus number? Is there any LTI? You can ask those questions. Think of it this way, Jonathan. In your career, you've always discussed money, finances, accounting, finance, whatever, with the people at the top, right? You're always looking this way. So they're the ones that make the decision about whether you get a 20%, 30% bonus, and how many stock options. Well, you're familiar with talking to those people. Ask the question. That will be an excellent question for you to ask, especially of them. And they'll know that you're interested. And by the way, you've got to let them know you're interested. They have to believe that you're interested in their company, which also is another soft piece to this interview process. And salary.
What if James raises the point? A certain need is created to the extent that you've been out of work for a lengthy period of time. He poses the question, what if someone is out of work for 15 months and the offers are low? Do you take a job to simply get back into the workforce? What if the hiring manager will not budge on salary or PTO?
Okay. I've been through those, and I know exactly what he's asking. Every home is unique. Your home, Jerry, Michael, every home is unique, and you're the ones that know what you can and cannot do. You have to make a decision. All right, so it's 15 months. I need to get back in the game. Do I take a role for a year that is, you know, much lower than what I'm used to, salary wise, title wise, and so on? And then hopefully in a year, they'll recognize what I've done and move me up. Or maybe the marketplace will be different and I'll get a better job. That stuff comes from your gut. I will never negotiate a salary down. I only negotiate a salary up. And if the role that we're discussing is a lot less than what you're making, it will always be my opinion that you don't go, because I'm not about to devalue or diminish what you've done your entire career. My job is to get you up, not down. If you see something that's 5 minutes away from the house that you could roll out of bed and go to work, and that makes you happy and your family happy and brings in revenue into the house, and you're okay with that, then you do it. It's got to be your gut. Personal experience, my husband's always been in New York, always at his job. And of course, with the pandemic in hospitality, everything shut down. So he was home for a long time. The summer opened up last year and he went to work back at Del Frisco's for the summer. The temperature was about 120. And when they opened up outside, he did his thing outside, for the restaurant. He came back after New York closed up again. And now he has a great job in New Jersey, about 7 minutes from home. And he goes back and forth, no tolls, no parking, no wear and tear on the car, no gas, no nothing. And the wear and tear just on his body. So I'm grateful for the fact that he's 5 minutes from the house because, the restaurant closes 11:30. He's home at 11:35. He may not make, $2,000 a night, $3,000 a night, whatever he was doing. But you know what? If he's doing $1,000 a week, if he's doing $1.50 a week, I'm okay with that because look at what the saving is. But his gut is saying, I want to be back in New York. I want to be back in New York. And I know that sometimes we all suffer from that prestige, big time restaurant, and wheeling and dealing in New York. But you've got to decide at this time what's better for you. And you have to decide that on your own. But I'll be there to cheer you on. Hopefully, Jerry, that answered the question.
Okay.
Anything else, or should I move on?
Move on.
All right. Okay, so the offer is less than you hope for. What do I do? Oh my God, that's so far out of my the range. Now what do I do? You can always go back to the well. You know that, right? You go back to the well one time, but not more than once. So anything that comes together with benefits, salary, vacation, PTO, all of that good stuff, you are allowed to go back to the well one time. Every job, every position, when it's budgeted, they build in wiggle room no matter what. So let's say the top of the range is 190. They're going to build a little wiggle room in there because they know there's going to be a negotiation. So if it's a little less than what you hope for, go back with your list and let them know what you want. In most cases, everybody will be happy. The company and you. You may not get 100% of everything you've asked for, but you get most of it. And don't forget about sign-ons. Today, Jerry, sign-ons are enormous. Big sign-ons, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, because people need the talent. So don't be afraid to ask for a big sign-on, because if you ask for it, if that's what you want, you'll get it. And sometimes sign-ons could be part of that, salary enhancement, but you have to decide that. Especially, Alex, you're right, especially if it's a startup. So, and I know startups today are very popular. They're everywhere, and you've got to make that decision. Equity is a piece. The salary may not be as robust as you would like, but ask for a sign-on bonus. It's a one-time deal. And if it covers all your benefits for a year, go for it. Again, my opinion, but you can go and ask for a package, go for it one time and lay it all out for them. How can I know what the job should be paying? We go back to an earlier conversation that you're all talented, you're all very knowledgeable, you should know what the marketplace is paying. We had a marketing person go in to an interview, and HR said, what are your salary requirements? And the candidate said to them, well, can the company afford me? Now, I thought that was a real aggressive comment. But the HR person said, well, can we afford you? Well, here's what the job is paying. And right off, that person said, well, I'm very sorry, but that role, that salary is not competitive with the marketplace, because he knew what the salary was. He knew what the marketplace was could bear. He knew what the marketplace was paying for that marketing position. And unfortunately, she was unable to get him hired. But do you see, when you have a conversation, rather than, check the box, it will turn out, in most cases, it turns out well. In some cases, you're able to walk away. By the way, I saw a quote on LinkedIn yesterday, and I wrote it down because I felt it was appropriate for today. Know your worth. You must find the courage to leave the table if you respect, if you suspect, if respect is no longer being served. When you are faced with a situation where they want to lowball that salary, and we've all been there, it's a respect level of your worth and your value and what I call what you bring to the table. I'm sure that's a question that people have asked you in the past. So, why should I hire you? What do you bring to the table? Emphatically let them know that you don't bring a piece to the table. You bring the table. You have everything that this company is looking for. And that's why you're sitting in that chair. If you decide that you don't want to be there, or this is not the environment for you, then say it. Thank you so very much. I appreciated all your time. However, at this point, I don't believe that there's a good match between the company and myself. Know your value. And I've seen this happen already several times, where people are walking away from roles because they're not the right environments. Don't feel you have to take something or take any salary because you've got to get back to work. Again, I stress, each home is unique. You all know what you need to do, can do, and want to do. But I'm stressing because I know what the marketplace is paying. So try to hold out if you can, because you'll get the number if you really want it. The unemployment market today, one of the questions was, should I even continue to look for another job because of the marketplace? Well, that question is, the marketplace is very hot right now, obviously, for many reasons. I was telling Jerry earlier, and Joyce, back in April of 2020, as a recruiter, I saw a couple of things immediately. One, people were not going to return back to work for several reasons. They were taking early retirement. They were going to retire and say, that's it with corporate America. A lot of people moved out of the area, out of the tri-state area. They went to Florida, Arizona, Tennessee, South Carolina. A lot of people did give up and say, I'm not going to go back to work. I cannot tolerate what's happening. And unfortunately, there were people that just passed in this lifetime due to the virus. And I knew that that was going to create a huge hole in the hiring and the talent pool and companies as we moved along this path. And here we are, June of 2021, and companies are having a hard time finding the right people. So the marketplace is pretty brisk. And we see a lot of hires. I know a lot of our members in the Hillsdale group are getting hired. I'm sure, Jerry, you see it in Chicago, that people are starting to get hired. But again, the right talent for the right role. So go back to work. If that's your game, if you want to go back into that, back into the fold with the right role, whether it's a CFO, a controller, a VP finance, and whatever marketplace you like, just go after it, because it's out there. And I see a lot of HR. We've seen so much HR, it's unreal.
Janelle,
Yeah.
you go back to the sign-on thing. Is that part of the total compensation package? In which case, if you're using a recruiter, does he get a piece of that? Or is that
No,
sort of, it's
typically not.
outside of that?
Typically not. The recruiter, typically on agreements, unless it's retained. On a retained search, they'll include everything, bonus, a guaranteed LTI. They'll include everything on the fee. In a contingency search, a bonus typically is not included, but that doesn't mean they're not going to ask for it. I encourage, candidates to ask for sign-on bonuses, even if their salaries are exactly what they want. And the reason for that is because the talent today is, again, it's very thin. We talk about, oh my God, there's so many people out of work. Well, there are, but they may not be in your arena and they may not have what you have. And confidence here is big. Being able to know you're the best at what you do is big. Knowing that you are at the top of the pile is big. And connecting with the right people, more than anything, very, very important. So I think it should be, whether you are alone on this or not, alone meaning you're doing your own negotiation or not, is I would ask for it.
Karen raises a question about, I would call it psychic income, which is title. Suppose the salary is sort of in your, it's in your range, in your ballpark, but you want a better title. Is that part of your negotiation?
Well, I would say it tongue in cheek. We just went through Karen, this has actually just happened. The company was looking for a particular number of year person. I ended up bringing to the table an individual who was a little bit more than that, maybe 9 years worth of experience. But that meant they were way out of the range of the original role. So the first thing I asked the company, and they loved the background. So the first thing I asked the company was, and this was to the CFO, what do you want to call him? What do you want to call him or her? Because you're not going to call them a senior accountant. So they thought about it and they said, you're right. Let's call him a VP of accounting. And dropped, $165 plus 30% bonus when the original role was 120, for, a 3 to 4 year person. They dropped $165 plus 30%. So yeah, bring the title up. And if that's what you want, they can always move that, bar a little bit. It should never a problem, should not be a problem. And the title is the least of what they should be worried about.
Because actually the title is a stepping stone for the next job.
Right.
And I don't know, what's the current statistic on length of employment? Meaning, what is the average job tenure these days? Like 1 year, 8 months, something along those lines?
Well, Jerry, what group are we talking to?
Okay, finance people, director level or above.
The millennials will tell you that they'll only be there for 6 months. They're staying for 6 months. That's it. Mm-hmm. In the roles that most of you have today, I think you're looking at 2 years. 2, maybe a little more. And you know what? If it's a 2-year deal, if it's a 2-year stint, and you get the feeling that you could finish out your career at that, you'll be able to feel that. It's not like, oh my God, 2 years, I'll be gone. No, it's the environment that you pick. Is it I want a place to hang my hat. for the next 4 to 5 years. You'll be able to feel that. You know, with mergers, acquisitions, every one of you in the roles that you're in, every one of you should be asking for back end severance. That's if the company is going to be bought out, merged, upper management changed, you've got to also bring that to the fore. A back end severance in your roles today is paramount. Because what are you going to do? Sit out there for a year, 6 months, a year without having any severance? Not, in fact, due to any of your doing, but because the company is being sold or merged or, you know, brought out by private equity or whatever. You need to ask for a back end severance as part of the package. And don't be afraid to ask for
it. Tim wants to know, if your first interview is with HR, how do you broach this conversation?
Even about compensation?
Yes.
Well, do you want to bring it up first? You can. You know, you could as I told you earlier in the morning, you know, the first thing that HR should be able to do is to give you, you know, to lay out all of the facts. And when you know the facts, it's up to you to decide to move along in the interview process. But they don't do that. My attitude is you've got to know what the salary level is. First of all, going into the role, you know whether it is, if the elevation is high enough, if the title and the elevation is high enough, then chances are the salary is going to be the right salary. But you could bring it up if you'd like. So may I ask what the position is budgeted for? And that's the role. And that's the role. You know, that's the way you should ask the question. Is there anything, may I ask what the position is budgeted for, you know, in our conversation? So if you want to bring it up that way. You know, you could be, look, we could all be nice about everything, right? You know how to play, you know how to play it, you know how to say the words. It's the delivery of the message that makes all the difference in the world. Do they like you? Right? We talked about it before. People will fight for you if they like you. People will always fight for you. They'll fight for the salary. HR will go back and say, this is what we need. And they also have to believe you're worth the offer, you know, what they're offering. And if you feel you're worth that offer, then say it. Don't be afraid. You know, just a little sidebar, Jerry. We have a lot of white noise that goes on back here every day. I do, you do, Nancy does, Jim does. We all have white noise that goes on behind us. And we have to stop listening to all of that. I'm not good enough. I should take anything. Jump on the first thing. I've got to bring revenue into the house. I don't know why I'm not getting picked up. Maybe my resume is, we've got to stop all of this. Your resumes are beautiful. They've got everything that a person could possibly want to read in them. You know, I know people that tweak their resumes daily. Why? This white noise that goes on in the background, you need to stop listening to it, because you're worth every penny of what your salary was or is. You're worth every penny. My background is not just in recruiting. It has been for the last 30 years. But I started out working for a small oil company called Exxon. And I was making $10,000 a year as a sales rep. And everything was plus commission. But I knew what I could do, and I knew what my value was. And I blew out 600 sales reps across the country and became the #1 sales rep for that firm. I know what I can do and I know what I can't do. After Exxon closed the division, I went to work for a company called Rome Telecommunications, which some of you know now belongs to IBM. So I had a parachute out of Rome Telecommunications, and everybody was out of a job. So we went to a recruiter in the city, a bunch of us. And after here for a little while longer, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the firm. And I went to work for a company in New York for about 3 years. And right after that, I opened up my own firm. You have to believe and really, really believe in what you do and how good you are at it. And salary becomes a big part of you when you understand what your value is and what you're worth and what you can do. Because you're very, very good at what you do. You wouldn't be here in this position as a finance executive, or I know that there are some of you out there who are not in finance. So whatever position you held, know that you are great at what you do. You wouldn't be here in this, in front of me today, unless you were that good. You're a member of the FENG. You know, Suzanne, I know that I don't see your face, but Suzanne reached out for me from Pennsylvania and said, Janelle, I know that you're going to be in Chicago on Tuesday. And I saw the note, and I'm very happy because I wanted you to, oh, there you are. And she wrote me the best note. She knows how good she is. We had a conversation and she knows what she's looking for. Knowing that, I'm pushing in a couple of different directions to help her locate a role that would make good sense for her. You've got to know that I know what your value is.
And I appreciated your time. I feel like you're my gladiator.
Suzanne, well, thank you. But this is what needs to happen with candidates. You know, we need to push a little further, a little harder, you know, on companies. Because most companies today, and I will tell you as a fact, don't know what they need. They think they do. They have all those little boxes that they have to check. But at the end of the day, the hiring managers, guys like Matt, guys like Joe, gals like Nancy and Lynn, you all know what you need to hire. And it may not always be that person who's got the, you know, perfect skill sets. There was a note that popped in before from Janice Mesner. She says she's ready to get an offer. Is that true, Janice?
Yes, which I'm sending you an email because I'll talk to you later if you're around. Janelle and I are both from the same neighborhood in New Jersey.
At exit.
So Janice is in Rockland.
No, Bergen, next town
Bergen.
over.
Right, we're both in Bergen County in New Jersey.
Right.
But Janice is about to get an offer from what I gathered from your note. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we can definitely talk about that offline. And Janice, thank you for coming this morning. That was very nice.
You rock.
Is there anything you want? Is there anything you want to share with the group or need a question? Have a question?
No, I mean, it'll go. My questions will go on and on. No, I mean, Janelle, you are right on. It doesn't matter whether you're in Chicago, New York, New Jersey. It's valuable information that we will carry with us. Yes. And everything, you know, we also have to be careful of imposter syndrome, which when you're out for a long time, it could really do a number on yourself.
Yes. And so, right. And that's that bullshit that I talk about, right. You know, the stuff in the back.
Yes.
You know, that says, don't worry about this.
Yes.
You got this. You're good at what you do. Janice, I know how you have forged along. Nancy, I know how you have forged along in your search. You're both, you know, Nancy, great job, new role. Janice, if that interview, you know, comes through, if that offer comes through, great job. I know what it's like to get to the end of that path.
Right.
And that's important for each and every one of you. But you've got to push a little harder, do it a little better, be a little more aggressive. Have grow a little more chutzpah, whatever it takes to move that needle or raise that bar. You got to do it. Joe Bauman, you and I've talked, many times, and you know how I feel. And you really are the epitome, of moving that needle, looking for the right role, looking for what you need, what you want, not settling. And, that encourages me time and time again. So, and I know the end is probably very near for you as well. You're getting closer to that, to that touchdown. And I know that's going to happen. And it's going to happen for each and every one of you for sure.
Janelle, can I just add something? And this is for everybody. What happens when you are in the negotiation stages and you ask for more PTO because maybe the comp is lower or whatever, and they say, we can't give you any more. Everybody is on the equal playing field. We can't offer you back the severance that you talked about, because if I give it to you, then we have to give that offer to everybody. And we all know that our individual agreements are confidential and we're not going to be sharing that, or the side conversations. But what do? Is that more old school mentality?
Well, it's not a more traditional way of thinking. Companies today will do everything they can, right, with you to shave as much as possible, right? Get you for the lowest price, get you for this, get you for that. Don't pay the benefits. We only pay 30%. They're going to do whatever they can to keep the cost very low. You've got to come back or combat that with, well, my salary is, X percentage lower than what I was currently earning. And PTO, I mean, come on. The norm today is 3 weeks. That's a normal, nobody starts out at 2 weeks anymore. Everything is 3 and 4 weeks. And if you want 4 or 5, you've got to ask for it. I would like 4 to 5 weeks vacation. My husband, my spouse, my significant other, my dog, we all go on vacation together. So I'm not about to take less vacation time. How can we work that out together?
Thank you.
Always bring them into the fold. Help them make the decision. You are valued already. How do we make it better?
Hey Janelle, this is Vivek Iyer.
Hi, Vivek.
Hi, everybody. I've been a member of FENG for really appreciate the forum here. So I have a New Jersey connection, Hudson County, before I moved to Chicago. So currently based out of Chicago, and I'm fortunate enough that today I do have an opportunity to evaluate an offer. And this topic is extremely relevant. In fact, a 24-hour relevant for me, because I do have to communicate back in 24 hours. They have given me a verbal offer, and they have told me clearly that they're open to negotiating. They're not putting it in writing because they expect a sort of negotiation. And I would love to get some advice, because obviously there's the standard, the numbers around the base, the cash and the equity, and then the sign-on. And I always think you can only negotiate one out of those things. You ask for 2 things, they give you 1 out of those 2 things, and then that basically closes the door on it. So would love to get some advice around what might be the best way to go back to them. But very fortunate to be in this position, and would love to get advice from all of you and from
Jerry.
you, Janelle.
Jerry, it's a perfect storm. Right, it's a perfect storm. So you're getting it. So they gave you an offer already.
Yes.
You're negotiating with them.
Yes.
Did you make a list of everything you want?
Yes, I did.
You did. All right. So, and that I would imagine, as you mentioned, includes base, equity, bonus, sign-on.
Yes.
Does it include a back-end severance, does it include? What does it include, Vivek?
So I have not. That's the tricky part on the severance. I don't know how to broach that topic when you're entering in to talk about an exit. I've always been in the banks and financial services industry and a highly regulated, environment. Fortunately, I'm exiting KeyBank right now, and I have a transition, severance package. So the banks, I don't need to worry about this because they are required after a certain pay grade to pay out a certain amount in severance. So it's sort of not even something that I had to worry about. But
Okay,
I'm
good.
moving into a different industry in a leadership role, and I don't know what that industry's norms are. The HR just sent me their benefits package, so I'm going to start looking at their benefits package, but obviously it's not going to cover severance.
Everything, right.
I'm used to anywhere from 6 to 12 months of severance. I don't know, what this new industry's norm is. I'm a little shy to broach that exit right now.
Can you tell me what the industry is?
You mean to say ask them about what the industry is?
No,
I actually don't know. I don't know what the industry norm is.
No, the industry, if you were financial services, what are you moving to?
I'm going to industrial and business services.
Industrial services.
Yeah.
Okay, well, anything industrial, it has a lot of money. So don't worry about that.
Okay.
All right, so decide, what do you want? Decide on the base that you want. Decide on, do you want a sign-on bonus? Did you ask them about the percentage of bonus for the year? What's been the history of the bonus? And by the way, what about succession planning?
Yeah.
Where do you go from here? The benefit package, I'm sure you've taken a look at.
Yeah.
Is it comparable to what you...
Wondering what do you think about if you ask for, I've always learned that, don't ask for too much, just ask for the one or maybe the two things that you really care about, because you sort of, you don't want to negotiate on too many things. You want to negotiate on the one or two things, and then
right. But you've got to do that comparison, Vivek. You can't just say, well, you know what? Column A, I had all this. Column B, I'm not getting any of this. And then just ask for two things.
Okay.
That's not how it works. But
Vivek,
somebody, please add to this.
Question. Is this a public company or a private company?
It's a publicly traded Fortune 500. It's a large public company. It's a leadership role. It's a good leadership role for a large public traded Fortune 500 company, which has been around for 100 years.
Okay. Can you review their SEC filings in terms of any documentation that would support what you're looking for?
So I know what my skip level manager's comp is because they report it in the 8K, in the proxy statements. So I know the guy who hired me, his manager, how much he's making, but obviously that's a skip level comp. So my question, so for me, what matters is more of the piece that is guaranteed or does not have hooks, meaning, like if I get a base, everything goes off of the base. So if I can go higher on the base, that's, it's base is probably the most guaranteed of any part. Something like a sign on, I get it today. I don't have to worry about what happens 3 years down the road and there's another politics scenario that I have to sort of, deal with. Right. So for me, what matters is I'd rather take less with more guarantee than go for something more with less guarantee.
Of course, you could bank the sign on and keep that for severance down the road, right?
Right.
That's a possibility.
Right. Because
how about exploring any of their competitors that are publicly traded, so that you could perhaps offer something that they offered their people, as you would learn from looking at any documents that they file with the SEC as a counter.
Okay. So you mean like other
other companies in the same industry that are publicly traded?
Right. Okay.
I mean, you don't have much time to do that, but it's a possibility.
I mean, I can buy another 24 hours. I mean, the HR lady asked me how much time I need. I said I need to speak with my family.
Vivek, can I ask what the title of the position is?
It will be the head of data analytics and strategy for the company.
The head of, say it again, I'm sorry.
Data, and so it's like the chief data analytics officer.
All right, so this is an IT role. It's a C-level role.
You can say that. Yeah, it is a level below. It's a level below the C.
All right, so it's a
but
level
I'm going to be
below
the head of the. I'm going to be the head of the department. I'm going to set up the department. I'm going to, you know, McKinsey is helping them right now, but I'm going to take over everything that McKinsey is doing. I'm going to build out the team and all that stuff.
All right, I'm not being aggressive here, but I'm telling you, ask for what you want. If you want the base and the sign on to be at a certain level, ask for it.
Okay.
Whatever LTI comes up, whatever bonus comes up in excess of this, then you're way ahead of the game. Ask for what you want.
Okay. I mean, they did put me through the ringer. They put me through the ringer. They had me meet like a ton of folks. They had other people.
I'm sure,
in the
because
process.
because they want you. Especially,
but right now the delta
don't worry
between
about the number being too high.
Okay. The total year-end comp package delta between what I sort of indicated would be my minimum and what they came back with, if I did that sort of rough calc here, they're off by about 15%, 15 to 20% between what I asked them and what they came back. So they, you know, I don't know if I did a good job so far.
All right. Well, Vivek, if you'd like to talk about it offline,
okay.
Joyce and Jerry have all of my information. Feel free to call.
Okay.
To call me, and I'll tell you exactly how to get through it.
I appreciate it, Janelle. If you don't mind, I can probably reach out.
No, my pleasure. That'd be my pleasure. Jerry, anybody else?
Let's see. Alex is in consulting, and he says, "I'm new and emerging face in this field, looking for work in project management, especially as it pertains." Oh, okay. I'm sorry. This is his
introduction.
Introduction, right? Karen says, "What's a reasonable amount of time to ask for to review an initial offer before going back to negotiate? How about a second/final offer? How much time should you request to consider the offer before indicating you'll give a final response?"
Well, okay. However much time, you know, any company will give you a week. If you ask them, may I get back to you in a week, or, you know, I'd like the week to review this. Talk to my, talk to the chief about all the particulars. Any company worth its salt will give you a week to decide. And if you have questions about the offer, about any of the benefits, you should be able to bring it to their attention whenever you need. So whether it's during the week, if you have questions, this is exactly how it should go. You should never be pressured in making a decision. If anybody comes to you and says, "I need your answer by tomorrow," you know, back off. That's an alert. Something's wrong. And you want time to think about this, because nobody makes decisions. They don't make decisions overnight. Neither do you. And that's a true fact. Review everything. Jerry, I don't know if you've had this experience, or any of the members up here, up in Chicago, but we've had a couple of instances where people were made offers right away, within 2 weeks, and asked them to start right away, and they turned out to be scams. Mm. So I don't know if that's been happening, that you've seen any of that up there, but
not aware of it.
Okay, but be very, very careful.
Can I ask one question to add on to what the questioner asked? Is there an optimal number of rounds that you go in these kinds of conversations? So they make you an offer, you go back and sort of counter, they come back to you. Is there like a standard on, you know?
No, you go to the well one time. One time. You give them everything you want, and let them come back. If they have questions, let them ask you questions.
Okay.
But you go to the well one time.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, Vivek.
Okay, with the hands on the clock say we've got about maybe 10 minutes at most. So we're only looking for short answer questions, so as to come
Jerry,
to a
there's a
hard
question about negotiating with a not-for-profit
Okay.
by Alex.
You know, not-for-profits, you know, that's a very, very different type of organization. And if you've made the decision to go to not-for-profit, or anyone that you know of that's, you know, decided to go to not-for-profit, you can negotiate. Nothing says you can't. But I think a great person to talk about that is Nancy Kenny. She's a not-for-profit guru.
Unmute yourself, Nancy.
Nance, give us a couple of words.
I've been in nonprofit, two different types. My biggest suggestion, and I'm happy to talk to anybody about it. I think I put all my contact information, is understand the size of the nonprofit. The negotiation, your worth is going to be one thing, but their affordability is going to be something different. So if you've not looked at GuideStar and looked at their 990 tax returns, definitely it's a wealth of information. Understand how big they are. I'm actually just accepted another nonprofit. I'm going there in 2 weeks. But I looked and targeted nonprofits that were of a certain size, because I recognized that they were never going to be able to pay anywhere near a salary base, regardless of how much they valued my skill. So you have to think about a lot of that. And Janelle's right. How much you can afford, what your life experience is, your health. You cannot underrate your mental health associated with whatever your current situation is. But happy, like Janelle, happy to talk to anybody about it. I did negotiate with mine, and I actually took a slightly lower pay. But the reason I did it is it was a company I've been following for 7 years. It's a fabulous nonprofit. I'm really excited about it. And the CEO, the first statement from her was, we just can't afford it right now, and I will absolutely reevaluate your salary going forward. So I decided that was the place I needed to be. It was going to be from a well-being standpoint, and I'm really excited about where I'm going. And I was willing to take a little bit less, and I could afford it. I mean, I made that financial decision. But so you have to really understand what it is and size. That's the most important thing about a nonprofit.
Nancy, thank you. And Nancy really does do the research. She does everything she needs to do about not-for-profit. Mike, did that help you? Did that answer your question, Matt? Oh, was Matt?
No, the original questioner is Alex. So Alex, you want to unmute
all right,
yourself?
Alex. So that and reach out to Nancy if he needs more information.
Okay, wonderful.
All right, so Jerry.
Yes.
I think a couple of things here today. I think that very, very important is really, really know what you want. Get that number in your head. And I hope a few of you, have written down a number on a pad that you will not move off of. Stay steady with that number. Think about what you want. Ask for it. Chances are you'll get that number or better. Please believe in the confident individual that you are. You are very, very talented. You've got the goods. You bring the table. You don't bring a piece of it. You bring the table. You are masterful at what you do. Look, I've been a member of FENG since they first started in terms of an associate member. And I know the talent in Chicago, in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, because I've been all over the place with them in person. And I know the talent that comes. You are very special, every one of you. And you've got to make that known to the people that you're interviewing with. I have had the pleasure of meeting a lot of you in my office, so I know what you're made of. I will be as aggressive as you will. And I want you to know that you're worth every penny that you ask for. So go out there and ask for it. And thank you for having me this morning.